But I guess let's get started in the interest of time. I think where we are going to talk about a very interesting topic that impacts all of us and the entire world, for all that matter. You know, there are many technologies that we have seen that have impacted business, and every time we think this is the most impactful technology that is around, and that was the same case when even internet started a few years ago, a few decades ago, I should say. The same thing when we were talking about cloud and IoT and everything else that has come around, and now we have AI. I think the big difference, in my opinion at least, has been that it is not only going to shape the way, the efficiencies of the business and the innovations that are coming in, it's going to just shape the way we think as humans, the way we behave, the way we live our lives. So it's a very fundamental kind of a technology, so to say, which has come about. It's been a long time coming. It's not like it was born yesterday. It's been coming. Even when I was in college, and that was a few decades ago, we had done some projects in AI, using AI, right? But that time it was, hand crank, a few things that we did, nothing fancy. But anyway, I think so, the technology is here. It's gone way past the experimentation phase. There are some real, benefits and real problems that we are trying to attempt and solve using AI. So I think to that end, I think we have a very interesting discussion I think we are going to line up today. Very accomplished panelists we have that represent very different parts of the business, and therefore we'll get some very rich insights from all of them. Maybe we'll start off with a basic understanding of where AI is in the business world today. So to that end, maybe Satyaki, if you can help us understand in the real business today, and from what you can see and what you have seen in your past experience as well, what are the use cases, so to say, or what are the areas, what are the problem domains that you see AI helping out, or is already helping out, or something that is just around the corner and will help out more? Please.
Sure. Thanks, Govind, for having me here, and good evening, everyone. So let's start with the categories of problems that we solve, and then we will get into the use cases. So one category is understanding the cause and the interrelation. Let's take some examples in the business, for example, on the customer side. What drives customer behavior? What are the factors that drive behavior and choices? So if we had to send a personalized offer, what factors should I consider to send a personalized offer? If I have to do an upsell, cross-sell, what kind of offers do I sell? Or what kind of offers do I send to the customer, personalized to the consumer or the customer, that the customer will fall for it or will buy it? Then comes the concept of customer churn, for example. A customer may churn. Do we understand the factors that influence customer churn, right? So again, understanding an output to a causality. You have a low performance of your business. Do you understand what factors cause it? So if you really see there is a category, or even if you move to, let's say, manufacturing or even product design, a lot of time is spent in designing products. And where does the time go? In product testing. So if you knew how the performance characteristics of the product are linked to design parameters, if you could establish that relationship, your time to do your product trials can actually come down significantly. This is all the more significant in pharma industry because then there are intensive trials. I have been part of them where we have significantly changed, at least more than 30% you can cut down in terms of trial time. Next comes, and you can go on and on, but this is one category you can talk about. The other category would be where you optimize, right? For example, supply chain, or even in manufacturing, you have resources, you have supplies. For example, you want to know what's your demand. You also want to know, given your supply, given the constraints, what are the optimal parameters that you set for your capacity, for your transportation, for your logistics. And somebody in the past, I mean, one of the previous speakers spoke about resilient supply chain. Now, one of the factors of resiliency is also redundancy. What kind of redundancy have you built in? What kind of choices, plan B, plan C, can you activate at a short span of time? Which means your ability to compute the optimal decision point at speed. You cannot be depending on spreadsheets.
Correct.
So question is, can you do a modeling of your supply chain, and can you actually simulate various scenarios to see, if I had to optimize customer experience, what choices do I make? Or if I may say, okay, no, customer experience may not be that important. I want to maximize my profits. What choices do I make?
Correct.
Or okay, immediately my profits may not be important. I want to maximize my revenue. What choices do I make? Your choices will vary based on the objective functions you want to maximize. You move into safety. You move into productivity, right? And this is where I wanted to also talk about, not any of this is generative AI, by the way.
Correct.
So there's a lot of hype regarding generative AI. It delivers a lot of things. But if the ones that I was talking about is where the real return on investment in terms of the big buck comes out. And this is still traditional AI. It is still regression models, classification models, deep learning models. Of course, generative AI is coming in significantly in case of customers, customer sentiments, natural language, understanding the natural language, conversing two-way, completely touchless in a natural language. Generative AI is being used in chatbots, in customer interactions, understanding partly emotions. It still doesn't understand emotion, it still gets a sentiment. Many cases it cannot get sarcasm, it still cannot get sarcasm, for example, so there are limitations, right? But if you broadly see, and then, you have, for example, you want to expand your business, you want to find out, where should I be opening a store? Where should I be opening a new retail outlet that maximizes my revenue? Can you get demographic data? Can you get traffic data? Can you get economic data? And can you put in that engine to actually say, which of my stores or retail outlets will give me the bang for the buck, right? These are where your real ROI still lies, right? We are working on generative AI in many of the cases. I think most of you would know, content generation, personalized offers, etc., etc. A lot is happening there. But I would say the ROI still is on a lot on the fundamental side, where you do computation and analytics. That's where the buck still lies.
That's fantastic. I really like the way you categorize the use cases, right? In terms of, in terms of the optimization parts of it and the causality parts of it. I think that's very good way to kind of look at how it is, right? With the limitations that AI has and so on, right? But so I think one of the first thing that Satyaki you mentioned was about, how AI has been used to personalize and get to a point where it helps you increase the customer experience and so on. So maybe I'll take this question to Srinivas in terms of, in your experience and the way you have seen AI evolve. How have you seen the technologies that are associated with AI, whether it's analytics or deep analytics or machine learning, or is it the generative parts of the AI? How have you seen those being used to achieve the hyper personalization and achieving the unique customer experiences, or ability to attract new customers, etc., etc.? So if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you so much. Hello everyone again. I've been through this journey much before generative AI, or AI became a term, the recent fad. Now, AI has been there for long. That's what a lot of speakers before have also saying, have been saying. Satyaki actually covered a lot of the information that I also wanted to kind of give. So thank you so much for that. But if you look at hyper personalization of customer experiences, of customer journeys, of customer value, deriving customer value, that is where a lot of companies, a lot of sectors are implementing AI today. I was working with one e-commerce company as a client, where, what you can personalize AI to such an extent that you would be able to realize what is it the customer wants to buy. You can create intent generation of that customer to understand and quickly serve him what he wants. Now, this is possible because of how AI handles large data, right? Now, so it is about intelligence. It's not about devices. It's not about applications anymore. It is about intelligence. So that is where I see AI moving in, and that is where personalization happens. Your, customer retention rates increase, and your actually the conversion ratio increases almost about 30%. I'm talking only about the e-commerce sector. Similarly, in manufacturing, there are a lot of use cases. As he said, it's not about generative AI. Generative AI has its own use cases. I'm sure you've heard of vibe coding. Now you do not need expensive UI UX designers. You don't need expensive back-end and front-end developers. You can generate brilliant websites. That helps the small and medium businesses who can come up with websites in an hour, fabulous looking websites in an hour, or applications in an hour. So these are the many different use cases in which AI is kind of taking its journey today.
No, that's fantastic. And I think, if we think about it in terms of, even if I go into generative AI parts of it, the amount of personalization that it can bring in. I mean, it has its limitation. I'm not kind of trying to make it too obvious, but it can talk in the language that you want, right? It doesn't have to be English. It can be Hindi, or for even the regional languages it speaks fairly okay. I don't think they do a great job for all Indian languages, but it's getting there. Or kind of try to remember your context and so on. So all of those things can help, even but I think, like you said, there are many other use cases and many other technologies that can be better. That's good. I think if you think about it in terms of the amount of effort every organization, every business is today putting in evaluating different prototypes or proof of concepts, different projects that have been launched. So there are very many. Now, there has been a time when it was new and people just wanted to play with the new tool and try to get a sense of it, etc. But like I said, we have moved beyond that now. Right? Now people are asking for, the business leaders are asking for the ROI. And how is this going to impact? So I think, and how will we measure the outcome of all of this, and how do we measure the ROI that we are, and because these are significant investment that we'll have to make. So as a CFO, it might be interesting to hear from you, Deepak, in terms of when an AI related initiative comes to your attention, or for that matter, the general CFO fraternity. How do you look at it? How do you look at the assessment of that, the ROIs for that, and budgets and so on and so on? So please, it'll help many of us, I can tell you.
Thank you, Govind. I think it's an important question, right? It's not only for finance, but I think given the amount of investment that we are making, but also that we want to make, ROI becomes a key question for every business leader. In his speech now, Satyaki took ROI, about ROI, I think 7 or 8 times, right? Every CEO kind of is looking at saying, if we are making investments, how much money are we really getting in return? And I must say that I'm not an expert on this because we are still experimenting with AI, right? It is still, we are a classic B2B manufacturing company, we are a packaging company, and hence AI is still coming in. But the way I look at AI in our business is in two ways. The first part is investment, a little bit of leap of faith. The second part of AI investment is very, very directly linked to the business outcomes. And let me explain both. The investment part, the leap of faith part is the talent development, the personal efficiency. So for example, we have put in Microsoft Copilot, right? We are doing a lot of trainings for our people where they learn to use AI in their everyday task. This is to make sure that you have people or employee, your employees can really use AI effectively. They become personally more efficient. Hopefully there's a return for this. The outcomes get better. People, the work-life balance improves, right? So all of that. The second part, however, I believe is very, very directly linked to the business outcomes. We are doing a couple of pilots, for example, where we are doing growth analytics through AI. We are doing the inventory analytics. We are a global company, 11 countries, 21 manufacturing plant. A lot of inventory is in high C and in the plants, etc. How can we optimize that? We are doing a AI pilot in preventive maintenance for our plants. We are using AI now to in one of our 3D tube generation for our customers, where the rendering of the tube can be done through AI. The image generation, etc., happens through that. He spoke about depersonalization. Satyaki spoke about many use cases. I think each one of these use cases are the ones where the outcome can be measured, right? And the investment can be measured. Obviously, I think we are in the early stage of this journey. But in my view, our ability to measure it will be far better than the other use cases.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, please, please.
So thanks, Deepak. I think I just wanted to add to what you said. So this conversation is actually going on. I'll take an example and explain. I think that will probably help.
Sure, sure.
So let's say a use case on customer churn. People would say, why do I invest in it, right? So one of the first things, so in that conversation, there are three or rather two stakeholders. One, the business, the other one is the digital and the AI team. And typically they will say, okay, you want me to do this, what's it for me? So one of the first things the digital team or the AI team would have to commit to, what is going to be your model accuracy? Why that is important? If I can, for example, customer churn, let's say today you don't have any insight. If I give you this list of probable customers and you say with a confidence level of 85%, you can set that benchmark. And you would know from your past other industry benchmarks, typically it gives in an initial range about 80% you can hit. Then the question to the business is, okay, I give you that list with 80% accuracy of probable customers who could churn. If you took action, the same kind of action that you take today, what do you believe you can retain? So let's say they say, I can retain 30%. So the 30% of that 80% multiplied by the number of, or the ticket size per customer for the year,
Correct.
that gives you an additional revenue,
Correct.
which you would retain if you had not applied anything.
Correct.
Now, is that a mathematically correct calculation? Probably not. But it gives you an order of magnitude to justify whether I should go in or should I not.
It's very logical. Like we can say it's a logical way to look at that and very
Right?
No, and I think very, very true, Satyaki. And then the other thing I just wanted to point out, or maybe like double click on a little bit, was on the leap of faith part that you mentioned, Deepak. Right? I think that resonated with me. Because, and you mentioned as part of that, it's just getting people exposed to AI itself is a good thing. I think my personal philosophy is, AI is one of those technologies which is not really a technology when it comes to user's hand. It's very easy to interact with. And it's getting there more and more so, right? So even some of the languages that are used to do analytics, etc. When I started my career long time ago, we had to write these either SQL statements, which were kind of hard to configure and all, but it's a lot easier now. But I think just getting people that tool in their hand, and again, I'll go back to a Gen AI kind of an environment. You go to a Copilot as an example. Every organization probably has it now because every organization has Microsoft. Use these people using that technology and thinking about their day-to-day problems and how I can solve. That itself is very powerful. I think they kind of come up with some of these use cases and scenarios, etc. And that can help. It could be small benefits, right? I mean, 10%, productivity, 5% product, but it still all adds up. All of that adds up. So I think even that is, to me, even it's a little bit of a experimental kind of a thing, exposure kind of thing. I think it's still very beneficial from that sense. Okay, so with that, let me turn to other important aspect of all of this. This is about, business is about, as much as about capital and as much about the plant and equipment, it's also probably more so about people. AI is one of those things that is going to fundamentally change, not just how we do business, but how we think and how we behave. And that also requires them to acquire certain skills to cope up in the world of AI now, right? So maybe Satyaki, I'll ask you this question in terms of what is your philosophy around, how we can develop the next set of workforce, or even the workforce that we have today. How do we train them or retrain them in the world of AI so that we can maximize the benefit of these things? And what are some of the things that you probably, or your organization, probably other organizations have taken up to kind of maximize the potential of our people in the wake of AI?
That's a very interesting question. So, whether it's AI or any other thing, what you need is investment.
Right.
And when you need investment, it's a C-suite conversation. And therefore, the question first comes is, why AI? Kya banega mujhse? I mean, what will I get out of it?
Correct.
And often that question is asked. Often the question is from business. Okay, is it a fad? Am I going to get something out of it? Is it analytics put in old wine put in a new bottle? So a lot of questions come up because of which business leaders a lot of times do not want to make a decision. So any education, in my view, needs to start from the leadership level. And there are two things. What can AI do and how can it do? And what are the enablers? Because at a strategy, if it is not clear, then just scratching below the surface with small one or two tools is not going to help.
Correct.
So one part of education, and what we did when I started with workshop with the top business leaders in my organization to say what can it do, how can it do, and case studies. So we invited people from outside to have an outside-in view to say, and neutral point of views, let's say Gartner's point of view. The moment you bring in a consultant, they'll say, oh, this guy is trying to sell. So we have to be careful how you push this narrative. The second part it is, once they are convinced as to what the art of possible is, then comes starting to educate the business as well as to what you can achieve.
Correct.
With use cases, what are the case studies, what others have done, bringing in people from outside and taking them through workshops. So that's the first layer. But what we have also done is education to say, for the business, they may not want to be data scientists, but they should know what kind of models are there, what kind of problems those models can solve, and what to ask for. So these kinds of sessions, there are curated sessions, but then we have also curated such things to say, how do we get that? But then the other very important part is also the talent ecosystem that I have, the people who will actually solve the problem. So you need to then invest in the right skills. Cross-train some people from the business who can also, because you can't do data science in vacuum. You need to understand the business context.
Right.
So it's very important that you also get people from the business, cross-train some of them into data science, and then it's a combination of people that you infuse from outside. And these are people typically who would have had a data science as a background. There are a lot of institutes today that give a data science degree. You can go there, you can hire from campuses. There are working professionals whom you can take who are already, and then it's a mix. But then also understand what is that startup ecosystem you need to tap to. So it's an overall talent ecosystem that we need to be cognizant of if we need to, and then I would say partnership with education institutes. Giving feedback to people. See, when we go for our campus interviews, we give a feedback to people, guys, why is, let's say when we go to MBA institutes, I have given feedbacks. I don't see MBA institutes churning out people to say, how would I do my next optimization using this AI?
Yep.
So education syllabuses need to change. And therefore, unless you do that, they will continue to do their analytics in a very traditional way. And it will never start from the education, it will start only in the industry.
Very well said. And so I think it's, when we are in the new world, I think we have to look at a broader ecosystem of talent, including our employees, our partners, the other broader ecosystem of training institutes and schools and so on. Very well said. Okay, let's talk about the other aspect, or maybe a little bit darker aspect of AI now, right? Which is, as it is, there were a lot of issues in terms of cyber attacks and cyber threats, etc. And AI just probably made it worse, I think. So Srinivas, maybe a question to you, since you have a lot of expertise and experience in this field, is how do you see the threat, the cybersecurity shaping up in the world of AI, and then what should businesses do to kind of protect themselves?
So actually, Satyaki gave a very good lead for me to answer this question. In his entire journey of planning the AI adoption, never did he mention about security there, right? That's the problem that we are. It's not a problem. I mean, they would have, and he would have forgotten to mention about it today. But then, in most of the customers that we have discussions, see, we've been protecting networks, we've been protecting devices, we've been protecting data. How do you protect intelligence? Now, the attack surface has completely changed when it comes to AI. Right from the kind of data that you train the AI on, what's the authenticity of that? Secondly, the model that you choose. You definitely as an organization will not be going with a publicly hosted, LLM model. You would be having your own model. Now, is that LLM's code validated? There have been, and in our labs, we've been able to reconstruct a client's entire model just by prompt engineering, asking it a set of curated questions. Adversarial prompting is what we call it. When you do that, we would be able to get the entire data structure of your company out. And then the governance part of it, right? I mean, we do have a lot of funny incidences. Without naming customers, I could say a customer just, downloaded an LLM model from Hugging Face, trained his entire company's data on it. And his problem was that his receptionist would type in and ask, what is the CEO's salary? And it would, spit it out. Now, how do you bring in role-based access control inside the chat? Because you are protecting your entire network with, EDRs, XDRs, you have data leakage prevention systems, you have all the policies in place, and here is a employee without his knowledge chatting away with the AI and giving all the information out to the internet. So that is the vector that customers need to be very careful about on how to address it, and there are solutions that are coming up now. So first is the data that you train, the second is the model, and the third is the governance that you build around the whole ecosystem. So that becomes very important.
Right. That's fantastic. Thank you. One last question. Uh, sorry. Um so Deepak, maybe just carrying forward with that thought, right? From a financial implications of all of this, right? Now, obviously, this is not a new thing. Cyber threats have been around, security threats have been around, etc. But in the new world of AI, etc., has anything changed the way you would view the financial implications of some of these things? Do you kind of worry more about what will this mean for your business? Do you make some reserves for something like this more and more than before? Do you take an insurance, cyber insurance for something like this? How are you seeing you handle this from a risk mitigation point of view?
So, generally, every organization has something called risk management framework,
Yeah.
right? You define the risks. If there is one risk which, let's say, keeps me awake today, it is the cybersecurity risk. Not because just because the implication of this can be so far-reaching, right?
Correct.
And so many of us have seen what happened to JLR,
Correct.
right? And it just frightens me because you can never be too prepared to kind of handle something like this. The landscape is evolving every day. And hence, if there is one area where at least I or our management team kind of over-invests is the cybersecurity. And this is a pure investment area to make sure that your business continuity remains. So just to give an example, in our organization, we have increased our cybersecurity spends by roughly 45% year over year in last 3 years. Our security assessment, we are a Blackstone company. Blackstone does an independent assessment on multiple parameters, about 70, 75 odd parameters, etc. Our rating has improved from 42% to 90%, right? And I still don't feel that we are good enough. Just because a single ERP hack could halt our production for days or weeks. So what we have done, we have put in a lot of systems at our each endpoint, the laptops, etc. We have monitoring system on our servers, each of the servers who monitor any abnormal activity, not only from outside, but even internally. An employee account logging in at an odd hour, extracting data and all of those things continuously, right? So we are doing all of that. But equally, as a finance guy, what I get a lot of comfort by is the backups. So right, we must have all the backups which are outside the core environment, we should have the capability to restore them because it is terabytes of data, right? It can't take days to get back up again. And those are the things that we are investing in. But I think the evil side of AI, which is just security threats were always there. But I think this is making it more and more potent in a way. And that is why I think the investment in this area is very important. At least we look at it that way.
Absolutely. Well said. So I think we are seriously out of time based on the clock there. But this was, I thought, very, very engaging and well-rounded conversation. We kind of ended on a serious note here, but I think it's worth saying that this is a very exciting world that we are getting into, where there is the potential for productivity gains and production innovation aided by the tools is immense. Obviously, it will come with some cautions that we have to manage, but I think overall, I think it will be very interesting next decade, I would say, for us to all look at. So thank you very much. This was fantastic. Really appreciate your time and patience. I know we got delayed a little bit, but really appreciate it. Thank you.